Rent prices are through the roof this year. Literally.
Rent prices are climbing and
seeing the nation's largest rent hikes.
Seeing more than a 30% hike in rents.
Now, nationwide, rent prices for the month of July just hit another double-digit record high, and it's the 17th month in a row it's hit another record high, coming in at a whopping 12.3% price increase year over year. And what's sad about that isn't the fact that it's a double-digit rent increase, it's the fact that you don't need to look hard around the country to see places where rents are up over 20%, 40%, 60%. Places like San Francisco, Austin, New York. In fact, the price for a one-bedroom in New York City is quickly approaching close to $4,000 a month. That's $48,000 a year on rent. And it's not just the popular coastal cities. There are places like Fresno and Tulsa that are seeing rent increases of close to 40%. I probably don't have to sit here to tell you why increasing rents suck, but in case I do, it makes things so much more less affordable. The standard rule of thumb is you should be using 30% of your monthly income to go to rent. Well, with all these price increases everywhere, people are easily spending over 50% of their take-home income on rent, and so it's just making it harder and harder to afford various other goods and services. However, what if I told you there was a way that you could potentially live rent-free? Even better, you could live in a house and get paid for it and have someone else buy you that house. Hey folks, and welcome back to the channel. For those of you who are new, my name is John of John's Finance Tips on TikTok and Instagram. Now, if you answered yes to the question of do you want to live for free, get paid to live, and have someone buy you a house, then this is the video for you because I'm gonna show you exactly how to do that. In addition to having had over 40 credit cards, working in tech sales, I'm also a real estate investor / house hacker. In this video specifically, we're gonna talk about what is house hacking and how do you live for free as a house hacker. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, pinkies up, sip, sip, but don't forget to lend me that thumb icon to help spread the good word. Part 1. House hacking. This is a term that I first heard about on the Bigger Pockets podcast, and I heard this probably 5 years ago. By the way, for those of you who don't know, shout out Bigger Pockets. They're a phenomenal real estate podcast for any beginner, honestly. If you're looking to start, go check out Bigger Pockets. So they have this term, house hacking, and I'm like, ooh, this sounds interesting. What is it? At its most simplest, it is where you buy a house, rent out a portion so that the rent covers your mortgage and you get to live rent-free. So a quick example. Let's say today, hypothetically, you're living in a one-bedroom apartment paying $1,500 a month. Instead, what if you were able to go buy, let's say, a duplex, and you rent out one side of the duplex for $3,000, and then you live in one side of the duplex, and you also get roommates that pay you each $1,000. Let's say you have 2 roommates. So you collect $5,000 of total rent, and let's say, hypothetically, your mortgage payment just happens to be $4,500. Boom, there you go. You're living for free, you're getting paid for it, and somebody else is literally buying you a house. Now, that's a really simple example, but that's pretty much all it is. You're just being a landlord while living at your current property. With house hacking, there's a couple of different ways that you can go about it. One way is to buy a single family home. Right? So let's say you buy a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom house and you basically rent by the room and you're gonna be living with roommates. An offshoot of that method would be buying a single family home, maybe that has a detached unit or a basement that's finished and you live completely separately so that instead of maybe doing a rent by the room situation, you can actually rent to a whole family. The second way to go about it is actually doing multifamily house hacking, which is my method and what I would much rather prefer because I think you can get way better rental yields and you don't have to actually deal with living with your tenants. Now, of course, if you're just out of college a couple of years and you wanna live with your buddies in a single family house, totally get it, that makes a ton of sense. However, if you're a couple of years out and you're like, hey, I want my own space, multifamily makes a ton of sense. And so typically we will look to target 2-family, 3-family, and 4 families. We don't go much higher than 4-family because in the 5, 6, and up, you're looking at commercial real estate and the lending standards are a lot different. So we're basically looking at 4 units and below. Now, here's the secret sauce as to why house hacking is such a hack. Because of the fact that you get to use an owner-occupied loan product to buy what's essentially an investment property. Now, if you're an investor trying to buy a 2, 3, or 4 fam, you might have to come up with 20, 25, 30% down. But as an owner-occupant, you can use an FHA loan and you can put 3.5% down on a 4-plex. That is literally insane. But what also works in your favor is because you are house hacking, you put down 3.5%, let's say on an $800, $900, $1 million property, you don't really care about what the monthly payments are because as long as you're running your numbers right, someone else should cover that entire mortgage. So what would normally dissuade, let's say, a family from going with a low down payment is when you have a low down payment, you have a high monthly cost. However, if you're house hacking with a low down payment, as long as your rental yield is able to cover your monthly cost, you're all set. And I know there are gonna people say, oh, well with an FHA, you know, I can only get 4, 5, 600,000. It depends. FHA in my area for a 2-fam, I think is around 970. For a 3-fam is about 1.1 or 1.2 million. All right, part 2. How to actually start house hacking. Now, if I were to start over again, these are the 3 steps I would do to get into my first house hacking property. Step 1 is you wanna find a team. Now, I'm not saying you need to build like a 10-person investing team. No. You basically really only need 2 people when you're first starting out. The first one is your agent. Your real estate agent is pretty much gonna act like a quarterback to your deal. Like you might think you're the quarterback, but if you've never bought property, you don't know anything. And just accept that, all right? You listen to podcasts, you watch my videos, that's fine, but your agent is gonna know what's going on. The question you're probably gonna ask is, but how do I even find an agent? Great question. In terms of finding an agent, you really want to network. So there are places like the Bigger Pockets forum, you can just ask for a local agent in your area. What I had a lot of success with was actually going to a real estate meetup in which I actually met a really good friend of mine, shout out to Avery, he's also a content creator here on YouTube, TikTok, as well as on Instagram, who was a real estate investor in the Boston area, who then introduced me to our current agent, Taylor Johnson, shout out to Taylor, who has been an absolute godsend when it comes to identifying properties and helping us close deals. I would say those 2 are probably the 2 areas I would focus on to find an agent. The other thing I want you to note is don't feel as if when you start working with one agent, you are tied to them for life. Like we probably went through 2 or 3 agents, just kind of feeling out like what's their working style and does it really make sense with what we're trying to do. Trust me, it's nothing personal, it's just business, right? When you first meet your agent, you can ask a couple of qualifying questions, lay out your plan to them saying, hey, I want a house hack in this area, do you do that? You might find that the agent's like, well, we don't really do house hacking. I'm really here to help people find their forever home. That's totally fine. You say thank you very much and you move on to your next one. And the second person I want to add to my team before I got going is a lender. Lenders are super important. They're basically the ones who are gonna help you actually get the money to close on that property. And the thing you wanna know with lenders is it's similar to agents in that you want to interview as many as you can and really lay out for them what your plan is. Basically, hey, my name's John, I want a house hack, and by the way, I want to use an FHA loan. And just pause and wait for them to respond. Here's the thing. My experience, the majority of them are probably gonna say, ooh, can't actually do an FHA loan because you'll never win a deal. Yeah, I'm here to say that's total BS. Yes, you can win FHA deals. Yes, I won FHA deals in a Boston market. That's hyper competitive. I, however, ended up speaking to 10 lenders before I found the one that I currently use today. His name's Garrett. Garrett's awesome. I would say his book of business he told me is, I don't know, 30, 40, 50% FHA. He knows how an FHA loan works. He understands the process and he helps me close. And how I ended up finding my lender was through my agent. So kind of back to agent is the quarterback. They know a lot about the area. They also know a lot about different people on a team you can actually pull in who will help you do what you want to do. So keep that in mind. I spoke to 10 different lenders and every single one of them basically said, not can do it. Nope, it's impossible. No, you'll never win. Only 1% of all the deals I closed last year was FHA. Impossible. Well, guess what? How is it I ended up closing on a property? My girlfriend closed on a property. And then pretty much, I don't know, I know probably at least 2 to 3 other people in the Boston area who have closed multifamily properties using FHA loans. It's possible. You just have to know how to ask, who to ask, and to ask consistently over and over and over again. Step 2, run the numbers. Run the analysis. Now that you've got your team built out, it's time to go ahead and look at the area in which you're gonna buy properties, take a look at one of those sample properties, and basically run it through whatever your analysis model is. Now, for me, I would say the most important thing to focus on is what your expected income is. Like expenses are pretty much fixed. Like you have some variable expenses you wanna hold back money for, but most of your expenses are gonna be fixed. Basically, what is the cost to service the loan? But your income is what's gonna be variable, and sometimes you might be only cash flowing like $100 a door, $150 a door. And so if it's kind of thin, you want to be very confident in finding out what your income is. You can use services like Rentometer, you can go on Craigslist, or you can go on Facebook Marketplace, you can go on Zillow to try and get an estimate of roughly what the rent is. You can have your agent pull comps for you around the area of, hey, what do 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms rent for in the area? Personally, for me, I also look at Section 8 rental standards because they give me a very good gauge of what, hey, base case what I can rent my units for, but I would say my guidance is really pay attention to what the income is that you think you can generate from the property. Now, if you're interested, I can leave a link above of a video in which it's basically 20 or 30 minutes of me blabbing away of how exactly I run my numbers. If that would be helpful for you, I'll leave a link of it up here. The other thing you might want to be focusing on is, okay, you know, what do the crime reports look like? What do the school districts look like? Again, are you on the path of progress? Meaning the area is not so good today, but maybe next year, 5 years, 10 years from now, that's where you want to be. And again, your agent will be able to help you out with that. I won't lie, most of your time is probably going to be spent here. I think I ran the numbers for probably every single multifamily within our price range in the Boston market. Like literally things hit the market, we run the numbers, do we wanna see it, do we not, shoot it off to our agent, he gets us in, rinse and repeat. And you're just gonna get into a rhythm of knowing, okay, roughly if it's a 2-family in Boston at around the 750 to 850 mark with 6 bedrooms total, that's something that makes sense for me. You're not gonna know that off the bat, but for me, it's kind of reflexive, right? If I'm looking for a 3-family, okay, 1.1, 1.2, it's gotta have at least 9 bedrooms, it's gotta be in this particular zip code, makes sense for me. Again, this is all gonna come in terms of muscle memory after a lot of repetition. Step 3, the fun part, offers. Write your offers and get them out there. Now, you're probably thinking, John, is it really the best time to be buying real estate in this current market? My answer is, if you know what you're doing, it's always the right time to buy real estate. When I bought our first property, that was in, I think it was March or April of 2020, like right when things were like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Like we put an offer in because guess what? Things were sitting there, we got in at a really good price. And now I'm looking at things as the price of houses are starting to either steady or come down slightly because again, right? Uncertainty in the marketplace, rates are going up a little bit. I think it's a great time to buy right now, as long as though you know what you're doing, right? You have to be confident in how you're running your analysis. Basically, are you confident in your rental income? That's probably the most important thing, like I said earlier. And so if you're confident in that, get those offers out there. And once you offer, the process is roughly, offer letter gets out with some sort of security deposit, then you go into your inspection if you have an inspection. Then after inspection, you would sign the purchase and sale. And this is kind of where basically you're committed to the deal. You bring in your down payment money. And then after the purchase and sale, there's the appraisal comes back. Hopefully everything checks out. Maybe it even appraises a little bit higher than you offered. And then boom, clear to close on that sucker. In maybe 2 months or so, you are now the owner of a beautiful multifamily property using a 3.5% down FHA loan. You're gonna rent the other units. You might even get roommates in your current unit and you're going to A, live for free, get paid to live, and have someone buy you a house. It's absolutely incredible. It is a cracked cheat code in my opinion. And then after 12 months, you can kind of just move on out of there and go on to your next one. Folks, hopefully this was a helpful video to some extent. Now, if you have any questions on wanting to get into real estate, maybe more specific questions on running analysis, any of that stuff, like drop them in the comment section below. I'll try to get to as many as I can. I would say, again, even just going back 3-ish years, 2.5-ish years, I was like, oh, how do you get going? And now I've kind of done 1 or 2 deals. I'm like, okay, I'm pretty comfortable with it. And again, I am by no means an expert, but it's something that I'm very passionate about. And on the daily, I am always checking on Zillow for my next deal. So if you enjoyed this video, please give that little thumbs up, subscribe if you like, and I will catch you all next time. Peace!